For our Everyday People segment, and I'm pleased to say have a very special lady called Rebecca Aziz on the line. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, Di. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, Rebecca, first of all, tell me a little bit of your story.
Yeah, well, basically, I was pregnant with my second child, and during my pregnancy at our 20-week morphology scan, we were told some heartbreaking news that our daughter had some congenital abnormalities. So she had some missing limbs. She was missing her right hand and a few digits from her left hand. Very unexpected and heartbreaking at the time, and we chose to continue the pregnancy and give our daughter a chance at a life and the best life that we could give her. I made it through to my 37th week of pregnancy, and the final 3 weeks I was on bed rest because I had just a few complications towards the end of the pregnancy. Unfortunately, before I got to safely deliver her at 40 weeks, she passed away in utero on my 37th week of pregnancy, and my daughter Yasminah and Aziz was stillborn.
That's very, very sad.
Yeah, thank you. It was a very difficult time, totally unexpected, and just such an emotional roller coaster. It leaves you feeling very isolated and so emotional, and not sure, I guess, how to process the feelings and move on.
As well as being tough to have experienced that, I think it must have been really tough when you had that first scan and they said to you, well, look, there are problems, what are you going to do? And that must have been heartbreaking for you to have to be given that decision, should we continue or terminate? And just being faced with a decision like that must have been awful.
Yeah, it was really, really difficult, and I can't, even put into words and how hard it was to break the news to friends and family and kind of come to the decision as to, do we continue the pregnancy or, what the doctors were saying, and taking all of the information in that they were giving us at the time. We just, we followed our hearts and did what we felt was right. And, I mean, having that hope that, everything would be fine, and totally unexpectedly at the end of the pregnancy, so close to, welcoming our little girl into our lives, her heart suddenly stopped beating. The last movement I felt from her was just before lunch, and I kind of didn't feel her move for a couple of hours. I knew that something was wrong, and approached my midwife because I was on bed rest at the time in hospital.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they came, and the doctor did scan, and he said, I checked everything and I can't find the heartbeat. I'm really sorry, the baby hasn't moved her arm. It's still in the same spot resting above her head. And then I proceeded and I had a normal delivery with her. Very, very hard to go through the experience of welcoming a child, because birth is something that's supposed to be so beautiful and, positive. And there was no cry when she was born. She was just beautiful, thick, black, curly hair. We got to spend a little bit of time with her, but only for a few short hours.
This is a really personal question, Rebecca, but did you have some photos taken of Yasminah?
At the time, because her passing was so unexpected, we weren't prepared, and our camera wasn't working. We tried desperately to get batteries to make it work, so didn't have a camera. The nurses and my wonderful midwives took a few photos for us.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We only have about 10 photos, but we don't have a digital copy of them. We just have printed versions, and they're one of, the really only keepsakes I have of my time with her. So...
The only reason I ask that is, how long ago did this all happen, I should ask first?
So Yasminah was born just over 4 years ago, March of 2009.
Well, the only reason I ask that is because apparently now if somebody does have a stillborn child, then they encourage them to take lots and lots of photos and it's more commonplace, whereas I've actually heard older people say that, look, 20 years ago that didn't happen. They just sort of took bubs off you and that was it. But I think it's very important that you don't have Yasminah here, but at least you have those photos that you can look back and remember what she was like.
Definitely. I'm looking at her photos now. I have them all up in my room, and it's something that is really special and dear to my heart. And there are so many families who, back, as you said, 20 years ago, didn't get to have a photo of their child, and their child was taken away from them and they were told to move on with their lives.
Now, it's such a sad story, but something good has come out of it, or should I say that you've turned it around and put your efforts into something to, I suppose, to help other people. So you've set up Yasminah's Gift of Hope. Tell me about the organisation.
Yeah, so we're a non-profit volunteer-led organisation, and we started just over a year after Yasminah passed away, and a few months after we brought our twin girls home. We fell pregnant with twins after our pregnancy with Yasminah, and they were born 9 weeks premature and spent 4 weeks in neonatal intensive care, which was also, another emotional roller coaster to be on.
Yeah.
Now, Yasminah's Gift of Hope helps provide support and guidance to other families who experience premature birth or pregnancy or neonatal loss. So the loss of a child during miscarriage, before birth or after birth, basically at any stage. We provide a Gift of Hope journal, which is hand decorated by our amazing volunteers. So much love is poured into them, and the idea is that the journal is something that families can use to record memories about their child, things and moments that they don't want to forget.
And I guess that's so important, because if you and look, I know a number of people who've had preemie babies, and not much bigger than an adult's hand, and they talk about there was so much rushing around to get here and there, and the feeding and the waiting around, and so you're really not in the sort of place where you could think, well, I might just write down what I did with Bubs today, because you're running from place A to place B, particularly if you do have older children, so that you need to sort of coordinate your whole life around visits to the hospital. Our very own Grant Goldman here, his wife had a very preemie baby, and we occasionally, I've sat down with his beautiful wife and talked about some of the challenges that they faced. And you just hear those stories, and these babies are so tiny. And on top of everything else, the mum has to be looking after other children, looking after the house, and most probably, and also trying to keep afloat, knowing that this little one's so tiny and so fragile.
Yeah, it's such an emotional experience for many families, and there's over 45,000 premature babies admitted to Australian hospitals each year, which is quite a staggering amount of babies. And we also have over 2,000 babies who are stillborn. So many pregnancies end very early in the pregnancy. It's a tragedy that's not spoken about enough.
Yes. Yeah.
And more support is definitely needed, and we're trying to do the very best that we can to reach out to those families, working with other organisations like SIDS and Kids, and with the hospitals, maternity wards.
And one thing that I think in that sort of situation, look, obviously as time advances, there are more and more groups or organisations that can be on standby to help out these new parents. But I suppose most people, when they do go to give birth prematurely, or there is a problem with the baby, or the baby is stillborn, no, in most cases you're not expecting it, so you're just not ready for that roller coaster of emotions and the torrent of what is about to come ahead, are you? So you really need somebody who can just sort of perhaps even sit there and just have a phone conversation, let you know, look, it's going to be okay, or that there are people that you can talk to.
Definitely, and we've got online support groups through Facebook, which are private and closed, so that families can feel they're safe and supported, and talk to other families who've experienced the same thing as them, or a similar journey, and they can ask questions about what's ahead, either whether it's a premature birth or it's the loss of a child. grief is so unexpected, and you can feel okay for a little while, and then can hit you unexpectedly. And it's really nice to have someone there to talk to who understands.
Now, you're having an auction fairly soon, and that's to raise money for what?
Yeah, so this month is Memorable May for us because we started the charity in May of 2010, so May is a very important month. We're having a fantastic auction through our Facebook page,
yep.
And it starts on the 17th of May at 10 a.m. and runs through until the Sunday evening, the 19th of May, and all funds raised from that is going to help us with our Westmead Wish. We're raising money at the moment to refurbish the Westmead Neonatal Intensive Care Units, providing some beautiful equipment, toys for the other kids to play, so when families come in and they've got other little ones who, spend many hours there waiting for them. And we're also raising funds to provide what we call cuddle time cots, which are really important for families who have lost a child. It extends the amount of time that they can spend with the baby before the baby has to go to the mortuary.
So how does that work? Is that a special cot for mum and bub to cuddle in, or...?
Yeah, so it's basically like a little Moses basket, and it has a cooling blanket in it. With our experience when we lost Yasminah, especially if you want something like a post-mortem done, or even for the baby to go to the mortuary, you've only got a certain amount of time to spend with the baby. So having the cot in the hospital bed with you, you don't have to say goodbye as early as you would.
Okay, and what sort of money are you looking at for something like that?
So the cuddle time cots cost over $3,500 each. For our Westmead Wish project, we're trying to raise $10,000 to be able to get all of the equipment and services that we need for the hospital.
Well, good luck with it, Rebecca. Look, it's been lovely talking to you, and such a sad story, but a ray of sunshine, I think, that you have gone on to create Yasminah's Gift of Hope in Yasminah's memory, but not only that, but to help other families, and you know what they're going through, and with this organisation. So, look, congratulations on that, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. That's Rebecca Aziz, and she set up the organisation called Yasminah's Gift of Hope. Look, such a very, very sad story, but as I said, there is a ray of sunshine at the end. 13 12 69.